Where are my ladies who love to read? If you like to read books to help you on your healing journey or your personal development journey, then this video is for you. Hey there, loved ones. My name is Sonya Star J, and this is Fully Loving Yourself. If you are new here, welcome. And if you are returning, welcome back. So today I wanted to share with y'all 5 books that I've been using on my healing journey, on my journey back to finding myself and reinventing myself and reconnecting with my femininity and just learning more about my body, especially as I've been journeying on healing my body from fibroids. So these are the 5 books that we're going to be getting into today. I think a few of these I've already mentioned, but I didn't actually get the opportunity to dive deep into them and tell you what they're about and how they could benefit you. So I want to do that today. Now, this first book is a little bit risque, okay, but I thoroughly enjoyed this book. It is called, I don't know if you can read this, it's called Prayers. I don't know if I can say this word on YouTube, but it's called Prayers. And this book is so good for women who are looking to reconnect with their yoni and their reproductive health system and their overall womanhood. Now, this book gets a little, but I think that it's really beneficial if you're somebody who feels a lot of shame and guilt around your sensuality and your sexuality. Because for me, growing up, I didn't hear good things about my womb, about my yoni, as you know, she states in the book, or however you refer to your womanhood. And she talks about that. She talks about the connection between Christianity and the divine feminine. She talks about experiencing trauma and how that can cause you to disconnect from your femininity. About her journey of learning what sex is and learning what her femininity was, and gives tips and advice on how to reconnect with yourself. She advises you to actually take the time to get to know yourself for yourself. And I thought this book was so interesting because while my mother is not here, my mother transitioned when I was 14 years old, and that is the time when young women need a maternal figure to teach them about their womanhood and who they are and their reproductive health and their womb and self-love and all those things. I didn't necessarily have that. And so this book, it reminded me of something that my mom said before she transitioned. When I was 12 or 13, my mom started teaching me about sex because my mom was a teen mother. And so I guess they were like trying to prepare me for what could potentially happen. My mom took the approach of education. She sat me down. She taught me how to use protection. She taught me about birth control. She taught me about connecting with myself. And the one piece of advice that I remember my mom saying to me was, don't let nobody get to know you before you get to know yourself. And that has always repeated in my head, but I never knew what she meant. But essentially she was talking about getting to know yourself, if you catch my drift. And I did at that point in time. And after a year, my mom passed, and I never got that kind of affection, empathy, and I'm gonna get emotional, and maternal guidance on my womanhood after that. A lot of the conversation around womanhood and femininity and sex was more around guilt or shame and what you shouldn't be doing and how you shouldn't be acting. There was nobody to tell me how to embrace who I was as a woman and coming into my womanhood. So this book, I think, was really good for that. I really enjoyed this. I talked to one of my friends about it, and she was like, that book's not for everybody. And it's not for everybody, but I really enjoyed it. And she has affirmations and tips in here about how to reconnect with yourself and personal stories. She also has herbs that are good for womb health and different resources in the back of the book. So this book was really good. And I advise, if you are somebody who's open-minded, to go ahead and check it out. And I will have all of the books that I'm talking about in today's video. I'm going to have them all linked in the description box below, because I would love to talk more about them. So the second book that I wanted to share with y'all is actually one that I think I've already shared with y'all, and it's called In the Flow by Alyssa Vitti. And this book is really good for someone who is learning how to cycle sync and how cycle syncing impacts our life. And I honestly think that all women and young girls need this book. This book was recommended to me by a coach for my program that I was in last year around spiritual and emotional health, and we actually got to a point where we were talking about womb health, and this was one of the books that she recommended. Now this book goes through a 4-week solution to stop dieting, exercise smarter, unleash your creativity, have better sex, and do more with less stress. This book was so good to me because it opened my eyes to how we are conditioned and programmed to live a life that is outside of what we naturally should be doing. I posted in one of my vlogs where I was discussing this topic with my husband about how men and women have different cycles with our cycle syncing. Men run on 24-hour cycle and a woman has a 28-day cycle. And I did a video on here talking about cycle syncing and how I've been using it on my healing journey and just like in my life. Oh my goodness, this is such a game changer for learning how to operate in your life, the things that we need to eat during certain phases of our cycle, when we're feeling the most confident, when to work a certain way. I've actually planned my work and my content schedule around cycle syncing. This book is so good, y'all. She talks about how different foods affect the body and your fertility. She talks about hormonal health, and again, how our cycles impact our relationships with others and our relationship with ourselves. So this book is really good. If you have a teenage daughter or you yourself are wanting to learn more about cycle syncing and femininity, if you're a mother, if you're not a mother, this book is still really good. And she talks about different diets such as the vegan diet, the keto diet. She talks about fibroids and PCOS. There are so many topics covered in this book, and if y'all want me to go more in depth on this book, please let me know in the comments below, because obviously y'all can see that I get excited when I'm talking about new things that I'm learning, and I just get excited being able to share this with y'all because I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to learn these things as well. So In the Flow by Alyssa Vitti. Now the third book that I want to share with y'all is called The Secret Language of Your Body. Now this book has been instrumental, and I know I'm saying this, but y'all, these books are so good. This book has been instrumental in me learning how the body is affected by certain emotions and events that happen in our lives. This book goes into detail about every part of the body, and if you are experiencing a health condition or so on in your body, it tells you what emotion that body part is connected to and which you need to focus on. Let me give you an example. And I did this in one of my other videos too, and it talks about understanding and healing emotions that cause disease. This book is so good, and it talks about different things that you might be feeling, like memory loss, menstrual problems, miscarriages, sickness. So I'm going to talk about menstrual problems because that is what we focus on over here. And so it says, if you are somebody who's dealing with menstrual problems, this could mean that you are rejecting your femininity. You have the belief that women are weak. You have constant self-criticism. You feel disempowered, like a victim, allowing people to push you around, difficulty standing up for yourself, taking life too serious, and carrying shame and guilt about sexuality. Flabber was gasted because I dealt with a lot of those things. I deal with a lot of those things. And so Man, this book is so good. Let me also go back and talk about, and then it says infertility. For women who are dealing with infertility, it says cold energy around the womb, feeling rejected, abandoned, inadequate, suppression of pain, emptiness, regret, sadness, loss, struggle, and dissatisfaction. Feeling like you are missing out on life. Man, this book is so good. And it talks about other things too, like jaundice, joint problems, incontinence, insomnia, a whole bunch of different things. But there's something that I wanted to talk about. So it talks about different things. If you can see, of course, I went through and I highlighted the ones that I specifically deal with. And so for women who are dealing with fibroids, it says holding on to hurts and regrets from the past, secretly wanting revenge, feeling disempowered and victimized, forced into things you don't want to do, nursing disappointments and failures from the past. Ouch, y'all. And I talked about in one of the other videos, I don't know if I posted it already or if I'm going to, I am somebody who struggles with letting go of the past and dealing with the anxiety of the future and just a lot of different emotional things. So I want to share one other thing with y'all. And so here it will tell you what emotions are connected to this and what you need to focus on healing in order, and what you need to focus on in a positive way in order to help you heal. And so for your uterus, possible contributing factors to having issues in the uterus is discounting the feminine aspect of self, holding on to old hurts and rejection, mother issues, feeling depleted, ungrounded, unsupported, neglected, and unbalanced, over concern with other people's problems, lack of appreciation and nurturing for self, constant need for approval. Ouch. Now, some of y'all might not have wanted to hear that. It was hard for me to hear. And I actually posted a video last month about detaching from other people's problems, because that is something that I struggle with. I am the eldest daughter of 5 children and the middle child of 14. And I've always been in people's business, wanting to figure out everybody else's stuff. I still do, because I have younger siblings and I'm the oldest, granddaughter, sister, everything. So it is a challenge just to let go of those things, but woo, child. So it tells you the remedy. So it gives you the remedy. It gives you a structure and things to say to your womb in order to help you heal. And then it says unhealthy emotions that you need to work with are rejection, judgment, guilt, and sadness. And healthy emotions to work with are recognition, respect, compassion, and forgiveness. Colors you need to work with are yellow, orange, and pink. I love it, y'all. I'm telling y'all, these books are so good and really have been instrumental in my journey of learning alternative health and healing and learning how to reconnect to my body. The next book that I want to talk about is Woman Evolved by the amazing Sarah J. Roberts. Now, whether you're religious or not, this book is so good, and also hearing her speak is so powerful. I actually went to hear her speak in Charlotte last year, and it was so life-changing. It was so moving to be in that room, and then that's where I got this book. It also comes with a workbook as well. And after going through this book and reading the stories, I felt so inspired and so moved. She talks about Eve in this book and the relationship that we have with Eve, and how Eve ate the fruit and how people didn't like her, but she provides a different perspective on Eve and womanhood and how to deal with shame and guilt around your womanhood and femininity, and trusting God, showing up, being exactly who you're meant to be in this life. She talks about her experience being a teen mom and the shame that she experienced around that, and just gives a lot of good tips and advice around rediscovering yourself and just allowing you to be exactly who it is that you're meant to be. One thing that she said in this book that inspired me to share more of my journey is, she said, when you subdue your giant, you teach the rest of us how to take ours down too. And in the moments where I feel like pulling back and not sharing so much of just everything that I'm going through, I remember that, because some of us have an assignment on our lives and we have to operate in them. And that's what she talks about in here, is overcoming your fears and insecurities and showing up as your best self and doing exactly what it is that God has intended for you to do. She asks different questions for you to reflect, and again, the workbook as well is really good. But I marked this book all up. She talks a lot about discipline in this book and overcoming negative mindsets and negative emotions. And her conference is actually called Woman Evolve, I believe, and it happens in September. And I can't wait to be able to go to one, because this is so good. She is so good. If you've never heard her speak, you need to do that. I don't care what it is that you believe in. She be preaching down and she gives a word. I'm always so inspired by her. So I wanted to let y'all know that this book is one of the books that has been helping to reshape my mind and my faith too. And then the last book that I wanted to share with y'all is called What Happened to You by Bruce Perry and Oprah Winfrey. It's conversations on trauma, resilience, and healing. Now, as I've been processing through all of the things that have happened to me, and I'm in therapy and really learning to unpack a lot of the things that happened to me, this book has been good, and it was actually recommended to me by a friend. And it's essentially personal conversations between Oprah and the doctor. They co-wrote this book, and it talks about her experience as a child dealing with abuse and all of the things that Oprah experienced. In the book, Oprah and Dr. Perry are going back and forth having a conversation about different topics, and they talk about trauma and the brain and how it impacts your development as a child and as an adult. And they just go through different life experiences. And why this was helpful for me is that it helped me to realize that I'm not alone in a lot of the experiences that I've dealt with. And it helped me to feel seen. And also hearing a lot of the responses from the doctor to Oprah helped as well. This book is heavy emotionally, so if you're somebody who is into that kind of stuff, this book would be really good for you. But this is deep. I read this on a trip to the beach, where that's a time where you like cleanse and like really get deep in yourself. So this book is really good as well. So those are all of the books that I wanted to share with y'all today. Again, let me know if y'all want to get deeper into these books and other books that you might recommend as well, because I love to read. I'm glad that it's a hobby that I picked back up. I actually started a book club that I gotta re-engage, but it's been really good to get back into my hobbies of reading, because when I was a child, that's what I always loved to do. So I hope that one of these books are of interest to you and you check them out, because they're all really good recommendations. Again, I will link them all in the description box below. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a thumbs up and make sure that you're subscribed. All right, that's all for now. Be bold, be joyful, and always be fully loving yourself. And I will catch you in the next one. Bye.